could say the exact same thing that Saagar Enjeti said to Tucker Carlson the other day. But I do feel that they captured this perfectly. Saagar nailed it perfectly as to why, because it appears so obvious to anybody that this is a cover-up that makes Watergate look like nothing. Like, that's how significant this is. The whole thing about Watergate's cover-up was in response to Daniel Ellsberg's release of the Pentagon Papers. And then, of course, wanting to get as much dirt on the Democrats as possible, even though it was obvious that Nixon was going to win re-election. So he did it anyway. It was completely stupid. And it was the whole concept of the cover-up versus the crime is completely, today, it pales in comparison to anything that is going to happen now in terms of protecting the Epstein client list, which we already have a pretty good idea of several people that are on.
So what we're saying is, so Ben Shapiro is just towing whatever they're telling him to tow, right? He's taking the party line. So this is where we're seeing a split in the MAGA and 100%. In what's going on there. So what do you, so Ben Shapiro is the example of
he's the Israel thing. Yes.
Okay. Well,
yes. Well, Ben Shapiro.
We know his motive is Israel based, but right. He's going along with the, there is no list. Okay.
See, the problem with Shapiro is that he represents two sides of a very important political coin in the GOP. He not only represents the Jewish vote in very prominent areas of the United States, he's also a frontman for the evangelical vote in the critical states in the South and in the heartland for the GOP when it comes to Christian Zionism.
Which is so great because that most of those people are huge anti-Semites.
It doesn't matter. It's a means to an end.
He doesn't care.
No.
They'll work with his yarmulke little self, and if they think that'll get them to their rapture. If
the Sammy Davis Jr. wannabe John Hagee were to use him as an example, John Hagee, you would think on the surface, just common sense, John Hagee's an anti-Semite. Like, he clearly has nothing. He has no love for Jews. He's basically a Pentecostal preacher disguised as an evangelical preacher living in San Antonio, which doesn't really make much sense. But he has several million person congregation that is either attending or watching on Sunday, morning shows.
Oh, it's very big live. I'm very familiar with the Cornerstone.
So as a result, if John Hagee were to offer Shapiro money to promote this talking point, you think Shapiro's going to hesitate?
Well, right. No. Yeah, that's the thing. He's on the payroll one way or another with whoever he's on the payroll with. So which GOP people are taking so you have a clip from Saagar that has a different.
So the most notable voice, I would say, that is a supporter of Trump's or has been a supporter of Trump's and has been in the inner circle that is 100% against what is going on in Israel is Tucker Carlson. And that split is very real, and they have come at him very hard. Now, Saagar, who is definitely libertarian right compared to evangelical right, and this is what he said, which I think is very poignant about why this whole cover-up is happening.
Also, look, I actually, on our show, our producer went to the Bronx, AOC's district, and interviewed people who were AOC Trump voters. And the number one reason that we got from them was war. It was the promise to bring an end to the war, both in Israel and Gaza and in Ukraine, because there is something visceral. Let's say that you live in the Bronx and you're having problems in your neighborhood, and watching these countries get tens of billions of dollars. 3 carrier strike groups of the United States of America were present in the Middle East specifically to back up Israel during the 12-day war. You asked Ted Cruz a very important question. Do you know how much that costs? I looked it up. It's actually public information. It's about I believe it's like $250 million per group per month for deployment. That was just for the deployment. The April operation.
That's separate from weapons fired.
That's separate from all the, and by the way, that number, which they will never release, is in the billions of dollars.
And the great point that Saagar's bringing up here, which we constantly bring up on our channel, is that they will tell you what the budget is And then there is earmarked money that never makes it into the budget that you don't even know about. Kind of like when Rumsfeld, the day before 9/11, says there's $2 trillion in unaccounted money in the Pentagon. What does that tell you? It is a financial scam on a level that people can't possibly wrap their heads around.
But what was his, I thought you were showing me something regarding
I'm going to get to that, but this was a very important, this is a huge part of the split that is happening with MAGA right now, because
no, it's mostly financial for sure.
Yes.
Like that's the big part of it is about America first and what that really means.
100%.
Yeah. I'm just curious where it crosses over, where those type of people are on the Epstein, whether or not they're being truthful about that.
Well, that's going to come at the end, but we'll finish this out.
And then let's take opportunity costs. We basically used up, a massive stockpile of U.S. interceptors, which are critical for our bases in Qatar or for everywhere else around the world on behalf of this foreign nation, which we were told repeatedly the reason we give it $3.3 billion a year was so they can defend themselves. Well, if they can defend themselves, then why did it take the full deployment of the U.S. empire to basically shield it? And even then, in terms of its shielding, I'm sure you felt the same way. I've been to Tel Aviv. Watching that city get rocked by rockets was a shocking experience. That was not what we were. I hated it too. I've been there. It's a beautiful city. Yeah. The people there are great. And to watch their cities, that's some London level, photography from World War II. And so the fact that happened, and that also, by the way, we just increased the defense budget to $1 trillion. For what purpose? I can't.
Just that number alone, it's so absurd on such a level. And I think it was pointed out the other day, we now spend more money, this big, beautiful budget bill that we just passed. Do you know that this budget has increased the amount of money earmarked for ICE is more than the Department of Education and the Department of Labor combined?
Wait, I want to put this up too. I want to say something. Okay, Noah. Here's the thing. You and I, we would get along so gloriously, but I'm just going to explain this. So Noah says Israel is just a parasite that is taking control of America, its host. I would suggest that America and American empire is the parasite that's trying to devour the whole world, and Israel is one of our tentacles. Food for thought. Onward.
Exactly tell you, because even with that money all spent in the past, it doesn't seem that we're all that competent at building interceptors, at ammunition. Russia, I believe, has a defense budget like more than 1/4 or something like that of the United States, produces like more ammunition than all of NATO combined. How do these things happen, right? So we have rife for corruption. The point is that MAGA and the right, let's say the non-MAGA right, people who voted for Donald Trump in good faith on a variety of good promises, I think for those people, and especially younger Americans, there is a visceral disgust at watching the level of tension and obsession over this foreign nation. And it's particularly galling because we have people like Ted Cruz who say, why are you obsessed with Israel? And it's like, what did I just describe here about
calling you
called
me an anti-Semite like 10 minutes in.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. Disgusting, but
what's absurd is like Tucker Carlson is a lot of things, but anti-Semite wouldn't even I just don't.
He's a wasp. He's a privileged wasp, and he had sort of a come to Jesus moment after the Iraq War, and he's been repenting ever since. And they think, listen.
I'm just saying, I don't think he's got a problem with, and certainly not in the sense that they're using it, which is when we say anti-Semitic, we're meaning anti-white Ashkenazi Jew, which they're not even Semites. So in that capacity, no, I don't think Saagar has a problem with other capitalists like himself that happen to be of the Jewish faith. I don't think he gives a shit.
No, and maybe not. But here is a telltale sign, and this is what brings it full circle as to why the split with MAGA is happening right now as a result of Jeffrey Epstein.
I, at this point, is not even part of trying to convince any of this is true.
Yes.
The lie is a signal to everybody else involved in the scheme that to the ultimate ends, the United States government will go to protect all of you.
Yes.
And that's the for
Man,
what
is that smart
purpose?
Can you say that again? Okay,
yes.
So it's a signal.
The lie is not for you and me. The lie is for those implicated to say, no matter what, we will protect you. And then we have to start asking the question, why? As in, what is the purpose of this entire thing?
And I still maintain that the biggest reason that the Epstein list and the entire fiasco that is happening right now has everything, and I mean everything, to do with protecting this unholy alliance that we have formed with Israel. Because if it comes out, if the information is presented, not only do we have a whole bunch of dual citizens, but really Israel first citizens that are also child fuckers, among other things. Excuse my language, but it's, truth has to be told. This is the big issue here. This is also shielding the backdrop of why Trump's bill is so bad and why passing that bill is going to be so devastating in the long run. And this is why I have no concern whatsoever for anything that the Democrats do. I hope that party gets dead and buried. It's going to become regional. It may have incredible leaders like Zoran who may ascend, and we'll get to Zoran shortly. But keep in mind, the Democratic Party is not going to campaign in the midterms on single-payer healthcare under any circumstances. So I don't give a rat's ass what they say. I don't care if the Democrats allow the Republicans to bury this country into the ocean. I don't care. Because when it's all said and done, we are either going to band together as a nation and take back our power, or we're going to allow it to fail. And if it's up to me, I would rather have a nosedive than a death by 1,000 paper cuts. I don't want to keep feeling like there's some type of hope here for this system. There is no hope. The system is done. It is finished, and let the state of Israel be the reason, with the backdrop of the Epstein scandal, be the reason why it happens. They have made this so painfully obvious and throwing it in everybody's face that, yes, we are lying. We don't care. And yes, all those things that we promised you about a better life here in the United States, even in the grand scheme of things about how much money is actually spent, that's not what this is. This is also the defense of what we said earlier about Francesca. The reason why Francesca is getting her ass hauled right now by the U.S. and she's being sanctioned before she could give her speech to the UN Council, why was it? Because she was exposing the very people that have the real power. Bill Gates has been to Epstein's Island. If that was released, if there was like a formal press release that said, by the way, Bill Gates, one of the biggest fundraisers in politics of the Democratic Party, mind you, that this guy's a pederast, along with Alan Dershowitz and a whole host of other people. Yeah, this country is like raging at this point. And the only thing that's holding it together is that there is still a substantial portion of the MAGA base that doesn't want to let go of dear leader. Now, thankfully, a lot of people have. And they are looking in another direction. They're looking at people like Thomas Massey. They're looking at people like Tucker Carlson, and they're saying, those are my leaders. Those are guys who actually do care about us.
Can I address somebody? Did you see this? Eva, okay? You're in the wrong place. So if you want to be here and troll, that's fine. Just keep it polite. We don't care. It helps our algorithm and stuff. But you're not going to find camaraderie here.